She was seconds away from destroying everything. After years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and climbing her way from a basement in Colorado to the most powerful building on Earth, Dana Perino walked into her boss's office ready to quit. She had practiced her speech. She had made peace with giving up. And then her boss spoke first. What he said next changed her life forever and revealed a truth about success that most people never understand. And it is nothing like what you have heard before. It was 2007, and Dana Perino was exhausted. She had been working brutal hours at the White House as deputy press secretary. The stress was eating her alive. She was not sleeping well. She was not eating properly. Every day felt like a battle she was losing. So she made a decision. She was going to walk into Ed Gillespie's office, the director of communications, and she was going to resign. She had practiced what she would say. She had made peace with walking away from everything she had worked for. She approached Ed after a meeting and said, "Can I see you after the communications meeting?" Ed nodded and replied, "Yes, I need to talk to you too." When they sat down, Dana was ready to deliver her resignation. But Ed spoke first. "The president would like to announce you as press secretary on Friday." Dana sat there in complete shock. The job she had dreamed about since childhood, the job she thought was impossible, it was being handed to her at the exact moment she was about to throw it all away. Ed Gillespie did not learn that Dana had come to quit until years later, when he read her memoir. She never told him. She accepted the position, walked out of his office, and began preparing for the biggest challenge of her life. But before Dana Perino ever set foot in Washington, she had to survive years of rejection, failure, and one devastating phone call that made her believe her dreams were over forever. Dana Marie Perino was born on May 9, 1972, in Evanston, Wyoming. Her family moved to Denver when she was young, and she grew up in Parker, Colorado. But every summer she returned to her grandparents' cattle ranch in Wyoming, where she collected eggs, opened gates for cattle, and hunted for dinosaur fossils. Those summers taught her hard work and self-reliance before she even understood what those words meant. Her father, Leo, owned a convenience store but was obsessed with politics. Starting in 3rd grade, Dana and her sister had to read 2 newspapers every day and discuss articles before dinner. While other kids watched cartoons, Dana rushed home from early church to watch political talk shows. Her mother, Jan, worked in marketing but also helped settle refugees fleeing the Soviet Union through Lutheran Family Services. Watching these families escape communism and start new lives taught Dana why America was a safe haven for freedom seekers. At 7 years old, Dana visited the White House during the Carter administration. Watching July 4th fireworks over the Washington Monument on the flight home, she fell in love with the nation's capital. Her Italian heritage shaped her deeply. Her great-grandparents emigrated from Turin, and her grandfather, Leo Ernest Perino, taught her about the American dream through his own family's story. Dana earned her bachelor's degree in mass communications from Colorado State University, Pueblo in 1994. Then she got a master's degree in public affairs reporting from the University of Illinois, Springfield. She covered the state capitol for a CBS affiliate called WCIA. She was good at it. She thought she knew where her life was headed. Then she moved to Washington, D.C., and reality hit hard. Her first job was answering phones as a staff assistant for Congressman Scott McInnes from Colorado. She was basically a secretary. The White House podium seemed impossibly far away. She worked her way up to become press secretary for Congressman Dan Schaefer. She did that job for almost 4 years. Then, in 1998, Schaefer announced he was retiring. Dana had no job, no plan, no idea what came next. She hung up the phone and cried. But sometimes the worst moments lead to the best opportunities. She moved to England with her new husband. Then they relocated to San Diego. She was far from Washington and far from politics. It seemed like her career in government was over, that something else was waiting for her on a flight from Denver to Chicago, and it would arrive in the form of a British accent, an empty seat, and a love story that seemed absolutely impossible. The story of how Dana met her husband sounds like something from a movie. On August 17, 1997, both Dana and a British man named Peter McMahon were running late for a flight from Denver to Chicago. They became the last 2 passengers to board the plane. By pure chance, they were assigned to seats right next to each other, seat 13A and seat 13C. Peter was walking down the jetway behind Dana. He later said he was walking behind this cute little blonde with her ponytail swinging, and he hoped he would sit beside her. When Dana saw him, she made a quick assessment. She thought, oh, he is cute and he is not wearing a wedding ring and he has a British accent. They talked for 2.5 hours straight. The conversation flowed so easily that the flight felt like minutes. When they landed, Dana gave him a card with all her contact information. Then she waited. 10 agonizing days passed with no word from Peter. Dana spent those 10 days unable to eat or sleep or even read. She was consumed by uncertainty. Then finally his email arrived. But the obstacles seemed impossible to overcome. Dana was 25 years old. Peter was 43. There was an 18-year age gap between them. He had been married twice before. He had 2 children from previous relationships, and he lived in England. Dana remembers looking out the window and praying. She said, "Okay, Lord, I know I asked you to help me find somebody, but he lives in England, and he is 18 years older than me, and he has been married twice before. Did I mention he lives in England?" She was terrified to tell her parents. She was almost paralyzed with fear about their reaction. But her father surprised her. He said an older man was exactly what she needed, because she was always a little bit in a hurry in her life. Less than a year after they met, Peter proposed impulsively outside the Washington Cathedral. Dana made him wait exactly 1 year from their first meeting for her answer. She wrote him a letter explaining her feelings. At the very end, she wrote, "Yes, I will marry you." They got married in September 1998 in a private ceremony in England. On their 20th anniversary in 2018, Dana wrote about what 2 decades of marriage feels like. She said it feels like forever and no time at all. The best decision I ever made and sometimes the hardest thing I have ever done, but also the most rewarding. She said it still feels improbable and asked what if I had missed the plane or was assigned to a different seat. Dana and Peter had built a quiet life in San Diego. She was running a small PR firm. He was working in business. They were happy. And then one morning in September 2001, everything they knew about the world was destroyed in a matter of minutes. Then, on September 11, 2001, everything changed. 2 days after the attacks, Dana called her friend Mindy Tucker, who worked at the Justice Department. By November 2001, Dana had a job as a spokesperson for the DOJ. She was back in the game. Here is the secret to how she climbed so fast. She took the assignments nobody else wanted. When other staffers avoided environmental issues because they were boring and complicated, Dana volunteered for them. She became an expert in a field that others ignored. This caught the attention of Andy Card, who was the White House Chief of Staff. In 2002, he brought her to the Council on Environmental Quality. From there, she rose to Deputy Press Secretary. She was getting closer to the podium, but she was still not there yet. The opportunity came wrapped in tragedy. Tony Snow was the White House Press Secretary, and he was brilliant at the job, but he had colon cancer. In 2007, his health forced him to resign. On his final day, Tony Snow stood behind Dana. He was 6 feet 5 inches tall. She was only 5 feet. He placed his hands on her shoulders and said words she has never forgotten. "You are better at this than you think you are." On September 14, 2007, Dana Perino became the 26th White House Press Secretary. She was the first Republican woman ever to hold the position. Tony Snow died on July 12, 2008. Dana wrote that the work that followed was all-consuming, and it was not until after the funeral that she had time to really cry. Dana conducted 155 press briefings during her time as White House Press Secretary. She served from September 2007 until the final day of the Bush administration on January 20, 2009. From the outside, she looked calm and composed, but behind the scenes, things were very different. She developed what she describes as an almost telepathic relationship with President George W. Bush. He super-empowered her. He made sure everybody knew that her calls got returned first. Barbara Bush once said that loyalty goes both ways, and Dana still tears up when she tells this story. But the job came with pressures that would break most people. Dana has admitted something remarkable about how she handled difficult reporters. There were times when some reporters would be peacocking around trying to show off, and sometimes just under the podium while holding her glass of water, she would flip them the bird. Nobody could see her doing it. She was smiling for the cameras while secretly expressing her frustration below the podium. The most dramatic moment came on December 14, 2008. President Bush was on his farewell trip to Baghdad. Dana was there with him. During a press conference, an Iraqi journalist named Muntadar al-Zaidi stood up and threw both of his shoes at the president. He shouted, "This is a farewell kiss from the Iraqi people." Bush ducked the shoes with surprising reflexes, but in the chaos, a Secret Service agent knocked over a microphone stand. The steel arm whipped around and struck Dana just under her right eye. She saw stars like a cartoon character. The impact gave her a black eye. President Bush found her afterward and put his arm around her. He asked, "What happened? I saw you crying, but I thought it was just because the guy threw a shoe at me." Dana's response showed exactly who she was. She told him, "Well, sir, I adore you, but I grew up in Wyoming and I am a little tougher than that." Weeks later, on January 20th, 2009, Dana's time at the White House came to an end. It was President Bush's last day, and it was her last day too. In the car to the airport, Dana leaned her head back against the seat and said something she still believes to this day. She said, "Nothing I ever do for the rest of my life will ever be that important, or that hard." Then Dana Perino was about to face something much harder than politics. She was about to learn that the greatest pain in life has nothing to do with power or success. It comes from losing the ones you love most. In spring 2012, Dana got a Hungarian Vizsla puppy named Jasper. This was 2 months after her first dog Henry had died at 14 years old. She could not have known that Jasper would become one of the most famous dogs in America. Jasper appeared regularly on The Five. He became a celebrity with his own fan base. People called him America's dog. He had a presence that went beyond what any normal pet should have. Dana wrote an entire book about him. But on September 4th, 2021 at 12:40 in the afternoon, Jasper died. He was only 9 years old. Cancer had spread through his body fast. Dana was shattered. 2 days later, at 3:08 in the morning, Dana woke up suddenly. Something was wrong. She realized the house was too quiet. Even when Jasper was sound asleep, he had a presence. Now that presence was gone. She went downstairs and she could feel Jasper everywhere. She wrote that this was his house and we were just living in it. She went to set his food bowl down like she always did, leaving him a little surprise for when he woke up. Then she caught herself before the bowl hit the floor. She placed it in the kitchen sink instead. A friend tried to comfort her by saying Jasper is probably still signing autographs in heaven. Another friend offered wisdom that made Dana cry. Grief is the price we pay for love. Just weeks after Jasper died, a new puppy was born on September 22nd, 2021. His name is Percy. He is also a Vizsla. Peter chose the name after a World War I veteran he knew as a teenager when he worked at an English pub. The old soldier used to tell stories about the camaraderie among soldiers. Dana wrote that they knew Jasper would want them to be joyous. She said their love for Jasper did not end with Jasper. It expanded with Percy. But the loss left a permanent mark. The woman who speaks to millions every day on television still wakes up in the darkness, sometimes remembering when the house was too quiet. In December 2024, something historic happened in cable news. A show that does not even air during prime time became the most watched program on all of cable television. That show is called The Five, and the woman at the center of it all is Dana Perino. The numbers are absolutely staggering. The Five pulled in over 4 million viewers in the final quarter of 2024. No non-primetime show had ever done this before in the history of cable news. For the entire year, the program averaged 3.4 million viewers. And on July 15, 2024, the day after the Trump assassination attempt, the show exploded to 5.5 million viewers in a single episode. Dana also co-anchors another show called America's Newsroom alongside Bill Hemmer. That program averaged 1.7 million viewers throughout 2024. Fox News captured 72% of the total cable news audience after the election, and Dana Perino sits at the very heart of that dominance. But her influence goes far beyond ratings. During the 2024 election cycle, she moderated the second Republican presidential primary debate. When she asked candidates to vote one of their fellow competitors off the island like a reality show, Ron DeSantis pushed back and called the question disrespectful. Dana did not flinch. On election night 2024, she made headlines again. At 2 in the morning, she criticized Kamala Harris for not conceding immediately. She said, "You should concede and let your opponent have their election night." Let them have their moment. I do not think it is right. The clip went viral within hours. Then, in August 2025, she got into a public fight with California Governor Gavin Newsom. She said he was making a fool of himself with his social media posts trolling Donald Trump. Newsom's office fired back by calling her Dana Ding Dong Perino. The exchange proved that even after all these years, Dana Perino still commands national attention and knows how to create moments that people cannot ignore. She also released a new book in April 2025 called I Wish Someone Had Told Me About Building a Great Career and a Meaningful Life. It became another New York Times bestseller. And in December 2025, she announced something nobody expected: her first novel, a romantic comedy called Purple State, set in Wisconsin, coming out in April 2026. But here is what most people do not know. While she was dominating cable news, she quietly spent Thanksgiving 2025 in Sierra Leone, working on a hospital ship called the Global Mercy. She worked alongside doctors providing free surgeries to people who could never afford them. She said they do not waste a dollar ever, and that she had seen it with her own eyes. There is a question people ask Dana Perino that she has learned to answer with grace. Why do you not have children? In her memoir, And the Good News is, she addressed this directly. She wrote that she gradually came to realize she did not want children. No long explanation, no apology, just calm acknowledgement of a choice she made. Peter's children from his previous marriages made Dana a stepmother. His grandchildren call her Grandma America. She has family, but she chose not to have biological children of her own. She has spoken about watching working mothers with something close to awe. She said, managing a career and raising children is something I am quite in awe of. She said she looks at working moms and says she does not know how they do it. Instead of children, Dana has built what she calls a different kind of legacy, one grounded in love and impact and self-awareness. She mentors young women. She writes books that reach millions. She pours the kind of love that might have gone to children into her dogs instead. Dana Perino took risks her whole life. She talked to a stranger on an airplane and married him. She took the boring assignments nobody wanted and ended up at the White House podium. She chose career over motherhood and built a different kind of legacy. That is the real Dana Perino. Not just the woman behind the podium or the face on television, but someone who carries joy and grief and love and loss all at the same time. Someone who proves that you can reach the top of your profession and still be human enough to cry in the darkness when no one is watching. And she is still just getting started. So what do you think about Dana Perino's incredible journey from a cattle ranch in Wyoming to the White House podium? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.